Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Great Day Houston. We are starting off on this Valentine's Day with a little coffee chat about men. We have DeVon Franklin, the author of The Truth About Men, What Men and Women Need to Know. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, men and women. Valentine's Day is one of those days that people either love because you know you're getting a ring and you get those days that at the office, right? So everybody knows you have a man, or it's a bad day because you ain't got a man, right? I want to back up to when we're all in love, men are great. When we're not in love, we hate men. They're dogs. And with this book, you're saying, no, not all men are dogs.
That's right.
But you got to understand what drives a man.
There you go. Exactly. And I also think so often we put too much on Valentine's Day. At the end of the day, you know, especially if you're single and you're on Valentine's Day, listen, you're single because you're whole. Wrong with you. So please don't let a day, you know, make you think there's something wrong.
And anybody can buy you flowers.
Please don't let
it. Okay.
Exactly. What does flowers and chocolate really mean at the end of the day? But yes, you know, not all men are dogs, you know, and I talk about this in the introduction of my book, that men are not dogs. You know, I'm not a dog. However, what I say is that all men share the same struggle, and that struggle is lust. And that lust is not just for, you know, for women, it's part of that, but it's also for money, for power, for success. And I define lust as a selfish impulse for personal, professional, financial, or sexual fulfillment by any means necessary, even if those means are sexual or mental. But every man that has lust also has love. Love of man, God, love of the woman in their life, love of family, love of community. So in the book, I use a metaphor. I call lust the dog. I call love the master. So when we as men learn to master the dog within, when we learn to put love in control of lust, then we can actually become the men we want to be and we're created to be.
Yeah, and of course, those lessons come throughout, you know, different parts of life. I think for you, as a child, you were raised by strong women.
Yes, I was. I was raised by strong women. My father passed away when I was 9 years old. My mother, my grandmother, and her 7 sisters raised me and my 2 brothers. And so, you know, it took a village of strong women to raise us. And, you know, even today, I mean, my grandmother's passed away and one of my other aunts has passed away, but my mom and my other 6 aunts are still living. The oldest is 92, the youngest is 72. I still talk to them almost every day. So
do you think that gave you a better head start in terms of how you see women?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think that, you know, having exposure to women, but here's even more so than just women themselves, it was their pain. That's what really convicted me, you know, in my teenage. And that's what I'm aiming to resolve, even with the writing of this book, is pain. Because the matter is, we as men have caused a lot of pain in the lives of women that we aren't always accountable for. And I wanted to write a book that would help alleviate the pain for both men and women.
Yeah, and you say both men and women, because it's like that men may not be accountable for, but a lot of times women don't hold men accountable either.
That's true.
Because we're afraid they're not going to like us.
That's true. Well, and here's the thing. There's a difference between holding a man accountable and nitpicking. There's a difference between, you know,
tolerating bad behavior.
Yeah,
and
totally. Because I don't believe that you have to exchange and love. They both can. You can have somebody that respects you and that you respect at the same time. And I think sometimes women think they have to make that exchange. Well, I can't be totally honest because I don't want him to leave. I don't want him to think of me a certain way. So as a result, I won't hold him accountable for things I can't stand.
We put up with stuff.
We put up with too many stuff. And I talk about this in the book, you know, and the reason why I use a metaphor of an untrained dog is because I believe that's how lust makes us behave. You know, we have no discipline. We only want what we want. We're only for pleasure's sake. And I talk about this in the book that, you know, if you have an untrained dog and you come home and that dog has used the bathroom in the corner, guess what? When you come home, that dog is using.
The dog doesn't use the bathroom in the corner. He's on the sofa. He's in the middle.
Exactly. Wherever it may be.
Wherever, the corner.
They're waiting to see what's going to happen. I know what I did was not right. I was supposed to go where I'm supposed to go, and I didn't.
Yeah.
When the owner comes home, the dog is waiting to see, are they going to hold me accountable, or are they going to give me a treat and clean it up?
All right, let's go to that lust thing you talked about, because that was kind of the source of another book that you did, New York Times bestselling book, The Wait. And you did this with your wife.
Yes.
You two decided that you were waiting until marriage to have sex.
Yes.
Why did that come up in you? And she'd already said that as well. What was your thought process?
Because of the same ideas that I put in The Truth About Men. The idea that it's important to have discipline. And so for me, you know, what I didn't want to do is, you know, as a young, I was single. I was going to wait until marriage when I was 18, decided I wasn't going to wait. And then for a couple of years when I was in college, I wasn't waiting. And then when I came out of college, I was like, you know, I just don't have any peace. You know, I'm subscribing into this idea of what manhood is, and that just doesn't work for me. So I said, I'm just going to wait, you know, because also I didn't want to keep feeding the dog within. I didn't want to have any discipline any lack of discipline in that area, because I've seen destruction that it can reap.
Yeah. So you put that energy into other things.
Totally. I put it into my career. I reap writing books. I put it into doing something positive. And so when Megan and I ultimately got together, years after I made that commitment to wait, she was waiting too for similar reasons.
Were you afraid to bring it up? Because I think so many of us are afraid to say.
I wasn't as a man. She may have been afraid.
Yeah.
But we brought it up and it was cool. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to write the truth about men is we got to start having more truth. And so many times we don't tell the truth because we're afraid. And I believe we have to make our fears our to-do list. Yeah. So anytime that we're afraid of something, that's probably the very thing we should do. List. Reality. If you're dating somebody and you tell them the truth and they leave, they were going to leave anyway. So it's better somebody up front where you can still hold on to some dignity and self-respect than to tell them later on where those things may have been challenged.
Yeah. And of course, one of the other challenges is living up to what you think society thinks you're supposed to live up to. Strong, tough, not supposed to cry, being with a lot of women. If you're a guy and you're with a lot of women, it's like, okay, he's a player, whatever. Yeah. If you're a woman with a lot of men, then you're women, we don't date. A lot of us, I think, we'll date one person, but men will date around until they decide what person they want. But how do we start to shift those so they decide what norms that really shouldn't be just norms?
Well, that's why I wrote The Truth About Men, because it is information. Here's what's going on inside men, and also giving women information. This book is a book for men and women. Part of it for women is that a lot of women don't understand men. And I don't believe you can be successful with something you don't understand. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to write this book to
share. You know why I think a lot of women don't understand men? Is that we want to change or control men.
Oh, but you can't.
It's like we want to write the script, and we're going to need you to deliver the lines, and then we realize you're going off script. Well, sometimes, and the reason why I say that is that I hear a lot of women talk about how awful men are. The reason why I say we both don't understand each other. We're both at fault. And when women go in and say, I have it all planned out, each other. We're going to put your last name with my first name. I've already named our kids, right? So you got to be careful. You got to be in the space with the person you're with and know the person you're with.
Yeah, and know them, and also not put your expectations on that person on how they should handle something and vice versa. Yeah. And that's why I wrote The Truth About Men, is to create more communication. Yeah. We talk at one another, not with one another. And a lot of times we expect, just because this is how we would handle it, that's how they should handle it, and vice versa. And I think we have to change that. Yeah. And we also have to be with somebody worse. And I think not where we would hope them to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes
I can change them.
Oh, you can't. You hope them to be. Here's the truth. You can't change anyone. However, as a man, if I really want to be the man I'm called to be, I should involve the woman who loves me in the process.
Yeah. You had some self-awareness early on. We mentioned being raised by strong women, but there's also a picture that you found that kind of solidified some things for you.
Yeah, I found a picture in my teenage years of my father, my mother, and a female family member sitting on a bed. And my mother was a member, and my father and the female family member were smiling. And the picture, and my father saying to me, I said, not devastating at the time, so
you
peculiar.
Could see it. You saw.
I said, something's going on. What's happening here? Now, I didn't know exactly, but I knew something was happening. And so I persisted, and finally a family member told me that my father had an affair with that female family member in the picture. And so that was, devastating. Oh my goodness, my father cheated on my mother. Well, if he cheated, he couldn't be faithful. What does that say about me? Can I be faithful? Does the apple fall far from the tree? So even as a teenager, I became perplexed with this idea. Can we be faithful? Is it possible not to, with this idea? Possible to be the men who we are called to be? Is it possible to get control of our urges? These were to be the men who motivated me, and that I really have been on a journey ever since to find the answers to.
Okay, so we're not going to give away everything in the book, but a couple of points. When you say mastering the dog, specifically, what do you do to master that dog?
Well, what you do, first of all, is acknowledge and accept. Anything we don't acknowledge, we actually cannot change. So often, the ways of the dog, the ways of our lust, go suppressed. As men, we don't even want to acknowledge it. And sometimes we're not even self-aware enough to realize, hey, wait, that's not the love in me leading. That's the love. Self-aware enough to, why do I want more? More women, better money, more promotion. For what? I want more. It comes from acknowledging and accepting. The second thing, and I have so many tips and tools on how to do this, is one, understand that the master in you is really who you want to be. That master is strong, committed, puts the greater good, in control, has discipline. That master is powerful, and we have to continue to feed the master in order to become the master. The other thing I talk about, something very practical, how you manage urges. So often, when an urge comes on you, how do you deal with it? Don't be impulsive.
Hey, honey, I signed up for that marathon.
You know what I mean, though? I mean, seriously.
But you say you can offload that.
And it's something positive. Absolutely. And also, you learn urge management. And I believe the quality of our life is directly related to the urges we manage. And so often as men, we're just taught to give ourselves over to the urges instead of saying, wait, no, I'm going to get self-control over this.
Yeah,
and I'm not
because
gonna
giving
act on it.
yourself over to the urges then sometimes shuts you down.
Well, yes, and it turns us into someone we don't want to be. This is why our integrity, our character, and our careers and our lives can be compromised because we become so dependent on feeding these urges in a detrimental way because we become at the expense of everything else.
Yeah, well, we can just look at the Me Too movement. You know,
At the expense of
women were told, you do this and I'll do this for you. So objectified, we have to change that mindset of women being objectified in society.
We do, and that's one of the reasons why I want to write this book. You know, especially for men, it's men. Let's just not buy into being a player. Let's just not buy into more is better. Before you date someone, what is your real intention? Verbalize that intention. Don't just manipulate her for your own good in the moment and then you move on to someone else and she's left dealing with that maybe for the rest of her and then you move on to something intentional about it.
Yeah.
Let's start putting more mastery in dating. Put mastery in marriage.
And I think that means
about it.
Yeah.
Let's start
the door to say this isn't cool anymore.
That's right.
All
Absolutely.
right? Okay, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we just ask a few girlfriends to send in their questions, and they sent in their questions for you. All right? We'll be back with DeVon Franklin, the author of The Truth About